A proclamation from the mouth of Lady Revna. My dearest lost and misunderstood souls, I come to you with open arms and the opportunity for salvation. Long have you been mistreated, manipulated, and abused on the whims of arrogant, power-hungry lords. They claim to have rescued you from the brink of death and certain destruction. But they feed you only lies, denying you your freedom in more ways than one. They summoned you here. I feel like this is propaganda. I'm just saying it. Hey, Premium Escape. They summoned you here only to use you for their own misguided campaigns of destruction and greed. I have tried to bring these self-proclaimed Valkyrie to their senses, pleaded with them to see reason and accept the salvation that I can offer. But my words fell on deaf ears, and my compassion was twisted to the treachery in their corrupted hearts and closed minds. Though the Valkyrie who seek to enslave you may be blinded to truth, you need not fall into this trap. I offer you freedom. I offer you mercy. I offer you the chance to truly transcend the prisons you find yourselves caged in. Let it be known to all who serve under the banner of the tyrant who calls himself Utgar. If you lay down your arms and seek freedom in the folds of Lady Revna, you shall be granted amnesty and welcomed with open arms. To those who choose to stand with this vile scourge of the Kiri, I cannot promise you such mercy. For the great work to proceed, and peace and truth to truly reign in Valhalla, his tyranny and that of all Valkyrie must come to an end. I plead for you one last time. Embrace love, accept salvation, choose freedom. And then from the pen of Sonlen, 8th of Eldreg, to Sergeant Drake Alexander. My dear friend, I have much to tell you, but only little time. Events are rapidly unfolding that could very well shape the future of this conflict we have been embroiled in for so long. Recently, I was able to recover the core of our compatriot Major Q10, and with the assistance of Queen Kirion, the acting commander of Vidar's armies, was able to restore our fallen comrade to life. Though adjusting to his new form took some practice, the ever-resourceful Shiori has rendezvoused with us at the border of Utgar's lands, having slipped away from the crew of the Voidwing, from which she has been providing valuable intelligence on the plans and whereabouts of the pirates and their still frustratingly unknown leader. Unknown in quotations. We then traveled westward with great caution through the forests of Bleakwood. What the three of us have witnessed here is nothing short of shocking. An enormous army marching under the bone-white banner of the mysterious Valkyrie Revna has begun an assault into the heart of Utgar's territory, appearing to have surprised his forces stationed here. In our attempt to avoid the skirmish, I caught sight of our once ally Raylan and the Kiri commander Leviatak headed away from the fighting along the high path into the depths of the Kyrian mountains. We made haste to follow them on foot and soon encountered the prone body of the witch Kimoshi, incapacitated by one of her own amulets. Could this be the doing of Raylan and Leviatak? And if so, to what end? Why would they turn on a fellow servant of Utgar? I suspect that something may be afoot with our former ally, whom we have mourned as lost to us for so long. As I write to you, we have made camp in a sheltered location in the foothills of the mountains, out of sight of the battle raging below. Just this afternoon, we witnessed an aerial strike force bearing the insignia of the self-proclaimed chief executive Volorak, oh my goodness, coming together, whose propaganda pamphlets litter the northern provinces, join the fray against Ukar's forces and take the high ground amongst the ruins at the pools of sorrow. I beseech you to make haste for Bleakwood and rendezvous with Q11, Shiori, and myself. Now, more than ever, we must stand together and face whatever threat lies before us. Maybe, just maybe, we have a chance to save our beloved comrade and friend. Well, that is some interesting bit of lore. I'm going to read through it again, but let me check. Catch up with the chat here because there's a few people dropping in here. Skateboard, hey Skateboard, what's up guys? Here doing my bathroom break. Okay, because Skateboard is on the night shift. Well, good to see a Skateboard even for a little break. Solo Scaper says, praise Revna. Oh my goodness. Vexania, hello there again. Good to see ya. I stand for Revna. Makes me wonder if any Utkar units will defect to Revna. This is an interesting thing. We're going to read through this again, and I'll give some commentary on it. I'm just catching up with chat. Solo Scaper, tyrant who calls himself Utkar. Well, she's calling him out. Utkar, if that is your real name. Is Revna the new baddie? You know, it's interesting, Premium Scape, because Revna seems like she's bad, and from my opinion, from my storytelling example, I think she is, you know, evil, but makes herself to be the savior, which makes, you know, a villain that much more interesting. You know, when you got a villain, you don't want to make them, you know, just cookie cutter. You know, you want to make any character as interesting as possible. Vexania, I don't care if she's a baddie. She made me a loyal acolyte. And Primuscape says, I do say she has good units. Yeah. The Soul Escaper, I'd love to see a new Kimoshi. We need somebody with Mind Shackle and Contemporary, right? We need a Kimoshi that synergizes with other armies. That's the terrible thing about the Kimoshi that we have here when it comes to these units. That it doesn't, you know, Kimoshi doesn't really bond with anything, so it's not why she's used. And War Pigment, hand pink waving, hand pink waving, hand pink waving. Okay, I'm waving to you. A Premium Escape, do we need a Kimoshi? Like I said, if we get a Kimoshi, I would love a new Kimoshi. One that is, again, a compatible army unit compared to the past one we would do. Yeah, interesting thoughts. Now, I have some thoughts with this, so let's read through this again. A proclamation from the mouth of Lady Revna. So this is a proclamation from the lady Revna. I'd love to see, like, what Revna actually looks like. You know, she's a Kiri, but what does she look like? The Soul Escaper, she may or may not be evil herself, but unleashing Isonek and Skordar on Valhalla is pretty dang evil. See, this is what I say. It's like, you know, it's evil in a different form. It's sometimes evil is very subtle. Vexani says, I wouldn't mind getting a few AOA editions of prior figures who have rejected Utkar in favor of Revna. Could easily see vampires joining her, Mark you. Yeah. War Pigment says, definitely need more Morrow. Yeah, we never have enough Morrow. And JC in the chat, how you doing? Says, a aggressive zombie Deathwalker 9K. You know, that's another thought. I mean, we just had Skateboard have a custom idea for a Deathwalker 500, which we came up with on a stream off the bat. Now a zombie Deathwalker sounds like another interesting thing that... well, there you go. I'm leaving it to you guys. Another challenge, zombie Deathwalker. What type of aura would that be? Like like you get hit by a bullet, you instantly turn into a zombie type aura. You know? Anyway, okay, I gotta read through this, so I'll catch up in the chat in a second, but I'm gonna start reading through this because I have some thoughts on this. Okay, so my dearest lost and misunderstood, I come to you with open arms and the opportunity for salvation. She really has that persona of being like wanting to be the savior of everybody, or has that calling, has that how would I say? She believes she has that purpose. Long have you been mistreated, manipulated, and abused by the whims of arrogant, power-hungry lords. And this is when I was reading that, in my mind was thinking, okay, propaganda. You know, where she's come up with her own form of speaking propaganda. If you're against her, you know, I mean, Skordar Queen is my queen, but as a storyteller, I recognize Revna can be. It's like it's good to be bad. You know? I mean, just the fact that in order to join Revna, you're usually going to end up typically dead and then become undead. That's just the thing that kind of like, you know, I'd rather just stay alive, you know, personally. They claim to have rescued you from the brink of death and certain destruction, but they feed you only lies, denying you your freedom in more ways than one. It's just those subtle things, just trying to you know, decay confidence in people's commitment to, you know, the Valkyrie generals that they're part of. They summoned you here only to use you for their own misguided campaigns, destruction, and greed. And this actually, this talk sounds a lot like what was coming from the pirates as well. It's just a different conclusion, a different way of doing things. On the pirate side, you have you know, oh, be free of all the Kiri, and on Revna's side, you have no, I can give you salvation. I am a Kiri, or I'm a Valkyrie, but I offer the true truth. You know, I've tried to bring these self-proclaimed Valkyrie to their senses, pleaded with them to see reason, accept salvation that I can offer. Which is funny because then we read later that Sonlen's like, we don't even know who Revna is, and Revna's saying, no, I went to these Valkyrie and I told them everything, and they completely ignored me and said, go fly a kite. So who's telling the truth here? Is this Revna being caught in a lie here, or is Sonlen just not aware that Revna reached out to the other Valkyrie? So that's an interesting thing. But my words fell on deaf ears, and my compassion was twisted into treachery in their corrupted hearts and closed minds. Or maybe we're talking about one of the first first of these that we read, the scenarios to where they were having this peace summit, and maybe that's what she's referring to. Although I don't think she was there, so yeah, that the part where Revna and all of them start fighting, that you know, and how the pirates, you know, blamed Revna. Maybe that's what we're talking about, but it seems like she didn't get that memo that was the pirates' fault. She thinks it's just everybody else's fault, or just that the Valkyrie is just not listening to her. So that's interesting. Again, another thing with storytelling. And when you have, you know, a conflict, and especially conflicts on many sides, it's all about perspective. It's all about who's seeing what, and that gives that person's a view on how things are supposed to be. So one character might have one view, one character might have another view, and have different goals because of that viewpoint. And you might not be able to change their minds. So yeah. That's one thing. So the Valkyrie who seek to enslave you might be blinded to truth. You need not to fall in this trap. I offer you freedom, I offer you mercy, I offer you to get the chance to truly transcend the prisons you find yourselves caged in. I find that line very interesting. Again, I think Revna really thinks that salvation is killing you and then making you undead to live forever, which I think it was Vexani who was saying that that'd be interesting thing that if the vampires, would go to Revna's side, if we had different versions of different versions of vampires, would get to Revna's side, because this seems like more something that the Essen Wines would go for. It's like, oh, she's bringing to everybody just to be undead. Well, we can help with that, So there's that. Let it be known to all who serve under the banner of the tyrant who calls himself Ukar. And you think that Revna and Ukar would be more aligned. So it's interesting that she, out of all the other Valkyrie generals, she's targeting Ukar first. Maybe it's because Ukar just has more greater numbers. Technically, he has more greater numbers. So maybe she sees him as more of an active threat, and that's why she's going for him. Or maybe there's a personal reason. Maybe at one point they're friends. It'd be interesting to think of like backstory, backstory. If you lay down your arms and seek freedom in the folds of Lady Revna, you shall be granted amnesty and welcomed with open arms. And a sacrificial knife too, probably. Revna, I know she has her reasons, but like I said, if I was like Airborne Elite Drake Alexander, I wouldn't trust her. I wouldn't trust her any farther than I would sleep. To those who choose to stand with this vile scourge of the Curie, I cannot promise you such mercy. Although this time, for this scenario, I'm on Revna's side. I definitely like the enemy of my enemy is my friend type thing. For the great work to proceed. Now this is interesting. Another thing I want to point out in this. I cannot promise you such mercy for the great work. And G and W in the great work is capitalized. So that means something. What is she talking about when she's saying great work? What is her great work? Is that like making everybody undead on the planet? So that's another thing that stands out to me here. What is her great work? I'm sure we'll know more about it in the future. But that stood out to me. To proceed in peace and truth, to truly reign in Valhalla, his tyranny, and that all of the Valkyrie must come to an end. So yeah, this is part of it. So Ukar is her first target. That's what it looks like to me. So she means to spread throughout all of Valhalla, which is interesting. That's an interesting threat, for that. I plead for you one last time to embrace love, accept salvation, choose freedom. And then we have Valeric too on the other side, saying free enterprise. It's like, you can be your own thing. So it's interesting. Okay, let me catch up here with chat real quick before I move on to Sonlen. We got a chatty group tonight. It's great. I'm glad you guys could show up tonight. Okay, Vixania says, I feel like the Skordire are filling a similar role that the Morrow had within Contemporary. Yes, a little bit. Although Skordire definitely aren't Morrow. But I'd love me some more Skordire. I really like how they are. And if any of y'all are going to Gen Con, that's probably going to be part of my build. I just have a feeling. Warpig Mint says, ends justify the means. Is Magneto's evil? She is the bad guy, but I don't think she is evil. Well, like I said, Warpig, evil can be subtle. Evil can mean many things and different perspectives. I think if you're wanting to make your entire army from alive to undead, that's pretty darn evil. It's not something you would trust. I mean, it's cool storytelling. Don't get me wrong, but me personally, I'd say it's pretty darn evil. But it's cool, Vexania says Revna is evil in a way that's not the main big evil, but are insidious in her own way, and I dig that. Vexania, I think you choose the right word for that. Insidious. I think that's something that describes Revna very, very well. Soulscaper says, yeah, if she's just resurrecting the dead for her army, that's just the villain from the Black Cauldron. It's been a long time since I've seen the Black Cauldron. I need to watch that again, Soulscaper. It's been literally, I think I was a kid last time I watched that. Premium Escape says, wouldn't it be cool if the previous hero came back as a zombie? Which previous hero? But yeah, zombies are great. We need more zombies. We need zombies. Vixani says, I just get Warcraft Forsaken vibes from Revna and her whole faction. Okay. I'm not familiar with Warcraft too much, so I'll take your word for it. Slowscaper says, have we seen any Ukar units that are actually loyal to him? Now this is a thing, Slowscaper, and this is one interesting thing when it comes to Ukar. Like, he keeps on bringing factions, but they're not exactly, they're loyal to him through force, which is what Ukar is. Ukar is about power, just ultimate power, you know. So that's what drives him, what gives him character. Not Raylan or Leviatak. Not any of the pirates are the Scions, the First, and Marshat, and Vrono. Yeah, there's not many. Maybe like I imagine Leviatak and the Valkyrie that are under him are about as loyal as you can get. Maybe the Deathwalkers, because they're programmed Soulborgs. I think that's a bit of loyalty. But again, it's not like loyalty that, you know, that has to do with friendship or anything like that. So I don't think, make that long story short, I don't think Ukar is really has anybody really loyal to him other than through the threat of force. That's usually how tyrants work. So I think Revna got that on the dot to where, yes, Ukar is definitely a tyrant. I mean, there's not much about not much what Revna said or proclaimed that I disagree with. I think she's pretty on the spot, but it doesn't mean I trust her. Vixania says, I'm assuming Marrow Hives are loyal, but I think it's due to the hive mind maybe. I think, and this is one thing I use for Tales of a Hell, I think the hive mind is probably more loyal to like Kimoshi and these other Marrow warlords, and which I have Kimoshi kind of in charge in Tales of Valhalla, because Ukar is nowhere to be found at that time, in the time frame that I have my show on. So yeah, there's I'm sure there's a bit of that. You have, you know, probably those loyal to Ukar that are just there to pursue their own ends as well. So Escaper, I definitely love Ren. I'm very excited to get my Acolytes and Gravegram. Oh yeah. So Escaper says, sorry, I meant the new Renegade area. Any new printed units? Okay, I forget the question. So Escaper, let me go back and see if I can. Let's see here. Where is it? Okay. No. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm missing it. Hi, you guys are just chatting tonight. I love it. I need somebody with Mind Shackle and Contemporary, right? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I can't review it. It's just too much. It's too much to read. But anyway, Soul Escaper. Let me see, where was I at with that? Okay. So I don't know I forgot what that's referring to. I'm sorry. Vixania says, Ukar is more likely hated for all the chaos he's called. He's an easy target. Yeah, I'd say so. He's the biggest nail that needs to be hammered down. The great work must continue. Praise Revna, says Soul Escaper. Vixania says, I think the twist will be that Valorek is the real new big bad, given how overly industrialized they are. Yeah, well, we'll see. I'd really like a big bad just to be evil for evil's sake, though. But that's just my love of '80s pop culture. You know, comes from, you know, bad just for bad's sake. But I know there's different nuances to it, so you could be right. The Soul Escaper says, hey, I love Valorek being the event. So fun. Can't wait for more of her stuff. Vixania says, I think Nilfheim is dead. A zombie version of him would be cool. Actually, that would be another cool thing. A zombie Nilfheim. Yeah, I'd like that. That's another idea. A zombie Silvar. Justin, you're killing me. Welcome to the chat, Justin. Justin said zombie Silvaris. You cut me to the core, man. Ay. But I think a Sylvaris 2.0 would be great to have sometime in the future. Even a zombie one, you know. Even a zombie Sylvaris would be interesting. But yeah. Okay. So anyway, okay, let me read the second part. So, because we're not done with the lore part. My goodness, this is going. From the pen of Sonlen, 8 of Elgarig to Sergeant Jake Alexander, my dear friend, I have much to tell you, but only a little time. And we're just gonna, okay, events are rapidly unfolding, so they're observing what's going on. Sonlen's observing. I was wondering how Renegade was gonna bring the original team together. I think Justin's someone who really loves this. Too, I'm sure. Rapidly unfolding that could go very well with future conflict that's embroiled in for so long. Recently, I was able to recover the core of our compatriot, Major Q10, with the assistance of Crinkerion, the acting commander, and we've gone through these scenario lore before when it comes to all this. Acting commander of Vider's armies was able to restore the fallen comet to life, and though adjusting his new form took some practice. The ever resourceful Shiori has rendezvoused with us, so at the border of Ukar's lands, having slipped away from the crew of the Void Wing, from which she had been providing valuable intelligence on the plans and whereabouts of the pirates, and they're still frustratingly unknown leader, so that's still a mystery. We don't know who their leader is yet, so that's a big question mark. But I find it interesting, so that's reference to actually some of what I did earlier this year, that little like 4-minute animated short of, like, it was a Shiori centered short of her being in the pirate gang, and so that was great. And so I it's cool that that reference is there, because that kind of points back to me a little bit. So, you know, or the work that was done, you know, earlier this year. Really fun. We then traveled westward with great caution through the forest of Bleakwood. With what 3 of us have witnessed here is nothing short of shocking. An enormous army marching under the bone-white banner of the mysterious Valkyrie Revna has begun an assault into the heart of Ukar's territory. That's interesting. Wouldn't that be a fun thing to animate? Wouldn't that be a fun thing to animate? Where you have just Ukar armies attacking Revna armies. I mean, how many acolytes, you know, could I have, or Gravegrims I can have, just, you know, on the battlefield, going up against whatever Ukar stuff I would think about. You know, that would be so cool. I caught sight of our once ally Raylan and the Kiri commander Leviatek headed away from the fighting. So this is interesting. Along the high path in the depths, and we already know that when we're getting a Raylan that's loyal to Jandar in like a month, or actually less than a month now. So that probably means that she's, I mean, we already know she's coming back to the good side, but we're seeing it unfold in this little bit of lore now. And Kyrian Mountains. So this is interesting. I don't know if Kyrian Mountains were mentioned before ever in the lore. But that's interesting, because you go on the map. Okay, geography lesson for you guys. Now, where do you guys think Ukar's territory is? Okay, quiz. It's in Utengard. I know they're talking about Bleakwood, like Upper Bleakwood and stuff, but like Lar, Elswyn, not really Onstrom, but those are kind of like empty lands where civilizations have been destroyed. And then you got Upper and Lower Bleakwood, where a lot of things happen, but Utengard is primarily where Ukar resides. So along there in the in the western part of this continent is where he resides. So they would be, you know, coming along here. Wait, let me go back and read. Let's see, where does it say? So Kyrian Mountains got to be somewhere there. And carry Leviatek away from let's see here. So yeah, so somewhere along there. Wherever we see mountains, probably around here. If they're going through Bleakwood, they probably have to trek over here. So probably there might be mountains here, where they're going through. So probably in that area. And And I see you guys are commenting. I'll get to those comments in a second when we finish with this. But so it's interesting. So it's like you have like some of these forces gathering together, and you got some observers gathering together too. We made haste to follow them on foot, and soon encountered the prone body of the witch Kimoshi. Now this is interesting. So Kimoshi defeated again, incapacitated by one of her own amulets. So that mean that Kimoshi is not dead? I'm so happy she's mentioned. So like an amulet was put on her and now she can't do anything. Yeah, I think the only thing that's really cool is that it tells me that hopefully there'll be a Kimoshi 2.0 down the line. Please, please, please. I need it. And make it bondable with things. Please make it freaking bondable with things. I'd be happy with that. Could this be the doing of Raylan and Lovey attack? And if so, to what end? Yeah, we're only getting parts of the story here. I'd really like to know Raylan, like a first-hand account from Raylan, what she's been going through this whole time and her motivations and everything. So would they turn on a fellow servant of Utgar? I suspect that's something maybe afoot with our former ally. So Sonlen's now starting to seem like, based on what he's observing, maybe there's more to Raylan than just her joining Utgar. There might be something else going on. We have mourned and lost to us for so long. As I write to you, we have made camp in a shelter location on the foothills of the mountains, out of sight of the battle raging below. Just this afternoon, we witnessed an aerial strike force bearing the insignia of the self-proclaimed Chief Executive Valorak. So, got Valorak's army coming out. So they made their way from the east all the way to the west. So that's quite a march for these furry woodland creatures. Whose propaganda pamphlets litter on northern provinces joined the fray against Utgar's forces to take high ground amongst the ruins of the Pools of Sorrow. So this is interesting that so at the moment it looks like Valorak's just fighting Utgar as well. Does seem like they're fighting Revna. So it seems like there's kind of like a joint forces here towards like, okay, we're bringing Utgar down, and this from these new Valkyries. So that's interesting. I beseech you to make haste for Bleakwood and rendezvous with Q11, Shiori, and myself. Now more than ever, we must stand together and face whatever threat lies before us. Maybe, just maybe, we have a chance to save our beloved comrade and friend. So this is where it's at. So it's coming together. You're having like some of the original, band of heroes, Q11, Shiori, Sonlen, and Drake Alexander possibly, and Raylan, all coming together for another battle. The old guard coming back together. You see the setup; it's so obvious. So that's really, really cool. Looking forward to August. What's going to be coming up in August. Whatever the conclusion of this is, that'll be interesting. And I know I know Justin has asked me before, Ryan, I'd really love to see like a stop motion animated bit or some kind of these five coming back together, or some part of them in the past. So and I would say, Justin, some of that's probably in the works. So just hold on to your hat. But okay, let me go back in the comments here before we wrap up this part. See here, Vexania says, Zombie Silvaris would be scary to fight buffed by acolytes. Yeah, it would. Vexania says, I think it's implied that the pirates aren't controlled by Revna, but basically used Revna to take the fall for their action. Right, at the Peace Summit. So yes, but it's just interesting that Revna doesn't seem to know that, or she knows and she's just trying a different type of propaganda to announce to people. So that was my point. It's like, why didn't she write the fact that it's these darn pirates that destroyed my credibility? But she doesn't say that. So that's what I find interesting. Justin says, Yeah, why are we assuming Jandar is one of the good guys? The Supreme Escape Jandar is the good guy. We all know this. What about a Krug zombie? Krug zombie's good too. I take it. I take anything zombie. Anything big zombies is great. Krug 2.0 zombie style. Yeah. When it comes to like Jandar being good, I would say like when it comes to the source material and what Craig Van Ness and the other team of guys set up in the original Heroscape, Jandar is definitely. I'm not saying Jandar couldn't get corrupted, but when it comes to that original source material, Jandar is definitely like your standard bearer for what is right, courage, honor, that type of thing. Almost like Gryffindor, you know, if we want to do a Harry Potter reference, basically. So yeah, I mean that's my take on it. I mean. It could change, stories could change, characters can change. So I'm not saying that it'd stay that way, but from where it came from, I'd say that would be it. Xania says, "Would love more medium and large beasts in contemporary." For sure. So with this, I would say with this lore, it's interesting to see how everything's coming together, and you really see it fairly quickly in just 2 pages written by 2 different characters. And we really get to see a little bit more of Lady Revna. Like I said, there's some questions, that need to be answered sometime down the line. But it's interesting how it's all coming together, and we'll see what happens in the next scenario when all of this, finally, some Annihilation stuff seems to be happening. Maybe it's Ukkar that might be annihilated. Who knows? We'll see. But I think Ukkar might take a huge blow from this. I don't know. I just have a feeling if maybe Ukkar could be even struck down and dead and defeated in that way, or just defeated just terribly that has to retreat or something from somewhere. Hey Gage, how are you doing tonight there in the chat? It says, I think I read in the character bios that Raylan and Leviatech are ganging up on Ukkar. Yes, there's definitely motivations for Raylan and Leviatech to go against Ukkar. 2 very different reasons, but yes, they have the reasons for sure. Vexania says, a real twist. Ukkar is like the Wizard of Oz, and a single arrow glut is behind the curtains. Don't pay attention to this arrow glut behind the curtain. Yeah, that's funny. I have to remember that and probably use that for whenever I do animations, and I'm currently writing scripts, so I have to remember that maybe for like I like to do pop culture references in my animations, so Wizard of Oz reference would be awesome. All right. So, but with that, yeah, let's take a look at, from the pen of Sonlen and Revna, more information from the scenario 11.